Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs and executive leaders who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. So, joining me normally is my co host, the super CEO, Ted Fells. He is tied up in some meetings right now, and hopefully he'll be joining us here momentarily. But today's definitely a show you want to lean in on. We're going to talk about how to convert your vision into a sustainable venture. And you've got that idea, that thing you're passionate about, that thing you feel called to, the thing you feel led to. The question is, how do you convert that into a sustainable venture? And this is even good for someone who's thinking of starting a nonprofit. So you may be thinking about starting a nonprofit or even just starting just a business. But the ideas will apply either way. So fasten your seatbelts because I have just the person to help us to lead this conversation. Again, we're talking about how to convert your vision into a sustainable venture. So I'm going to go ahead and bring our guest on. He is the founder and CEO of Exponent Group, a missions agency dedicated to helping leaders restore their own communities through spiritual formation, ministry skills development, and community restoration projects. Please join me in welcoming to the show, Joe Reed.
Hey, it's great to be here, Eric. Nice to see you, bud. Here comes Ted.
And here comes Ted.
Hey guys, hey! Don't hold up for me. Go on and get started. Go ahead. It's okay.
You're on the spot. The mic's at your side now, brother.
How's everybody doing?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Good. That's the super CEO. I told him you were in meetings. You'd be joining us here momentarily. So welcome to the show, Ted.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. All right. So we just welcomed our guest. And again, we're here to talk about how to convert your vision into a sustainable venture. The operative word being sustainable. All right. So let's get this going, Joe. And as I was doing research and as I spoke with you in the past, this term social entrepreneurship keeps coming up. Can you talk to us about what exactly is social entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I'm a serial entrepreneur at heart. Kind of grew up, lemonade stands, selling pixie sticks in junior high school and almost getting kicked out of school for making more money than the teachers were making off of it. And, and one of the things that I kept running into with my entrepreneurship friends, all the entrepreneurs that we were running with, was there's a focus on, I want to just go make it big. I want to go make a lot of money and then I want to exit. It's like, that's kind of the rat race you play. And that's kind of the why. And what I was never really gripped by that. I mean, I want to pay my bills, don't get me wrong. But like at the end of the day, I'm not taking any of that stuff with me. Mm-hmm. And what I want to leave behind is these communities that I've been living and working in. I want to see them look more like heaven than hell when I take off. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the energy of an entrepreneurship program has to have a primary focus on the social impact that it can make. Because if it's successful, it'll still make money. You're solving problems, you're going to make the money you need to make. But my concern is, are we making the impact we want to make? Is that our priority? Let the rest of it follow. So that's a lot for me where just the focus of it is focused on the social.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about your life experiences, especially the ones that really birthed this passion for social entrepreneurship. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Indiana. And a great Christian family, grew up in the church, the whole thing. And really early in life, really started to sense a call towards mission. I always thought it would be more like church planting, being a pastor, things like that. That kind of lined up more with my personality. And I got into that early on in my career. I helped plant a couple of churches, part of project teams and things like that. And it was great, but I always had this itch, like the Lord just kept drawing me out of it, like constantly. And he turned my wife and my's attention towards South Africa. And about, oh man, I got to think back now. It's been about 20 years ago. We moved our family to Pretoria, South Africa, and we helped move. We redefined a missions that was already on the ground there. And that's really where things really started to grip for me, because I got to see the disparity between, you know, the wealthiest of the wealthy of Africa living right next door to the poorest of the poor, like literally on the same block in some situations. And just seeing and understanding the dynamics that were at play, I realized that there's a pathway that we can start to carve out of that. So a lot of our work and missions began to really center in on, like, we know that we're here to evangelize the lost, you know, steward up people's hearts, you know, shepherd them forward in their maturity and all of that. But if we're only doing that and we're not addressing their physical needs as well, I think we're missing a big part of the entire objective here, you know. And so for me, South Africa was really the laboratory for the rest of everything we've put our hands to over the last, you know, 15, 16 years.
So was it just, okay, God's telling me to go to South Africa, I'm just going to go. It's just that simple. Or was there ever any, like, hey, South Africa, huh? I mean, was there any wrestle? Or tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we only had one child. We have 3 kids now. At the time, we had a 1.5-year-old boy, and we were 8 months pregnant when I started to get this like itch. And I said my wife was on board with it. We told our family. I think everybody thought we were nuts, and I thought we were nuts. I was pastoring. I was the associate pastor at a local church I'd helped start, and began to share the vision with them, and they were really on board with it. My 8-month pregnant wife got on an airplane to go do a vision trip with me for 2 weeks. We went over there, and very, very pregnant. And it was a very big mistake. We shouldn't have done it in hindsight. But while we're there, we both just had that sense like, yeah, this is it. This is exactly where we're supposed to be. But you know, you're about to have your second child, and all that stuff's going on. And I will not forget it. We gave birth, my wife gave birth, I should say, to our daughter. And I'm sitting there in the hospital, and I'm holding her on my chest thinking, I've got to steward my family. I got to take care of them. You know, being a missionary, it's hard enough being a pastor. Being a missionary is like extra poor, you know, it's like bonus poor. And I don't want to do that to these kids. Like, I love these kids. I love my wife. I don't want to do that to them. And I remember sitting there holding my daughter on my chest in the hospital room and just getting flooded with, it's time to go. And my wife says to me, you know, I told her that about it while we were still in the hospital room. That's a rookie mistake. Don't do that, man. Like, don't be throwing those big ideas out to your lady when they're sitting in that position like that. But she said, yeah, I already know. Yeah, we're going. And I was like, wow. So I remember going back and telling our church, the senior pastor at the time, and he's like, love it. I think it's great. You've got 3 months. Get out. Basically, you got 3 months to raise it all and then get out of here. I was like, I've never done this before. That doesn't seem like a realistic timeline at all. But and it wasn't, but we had no choice. And so we put everything, you know, just trusted the Lord, put our feet our hands to the plow, and we just kept pushing. And we went with barely enough to just make our plane trip and a couple of months of runway in the bank account. And we didn't have any other options. So we're flying over an ocean with a toddler that can walk in a, you know, what was she when we left? Probably 5 months old. And just crazy, guys. It was a crazy time. And it was not an easy try. It wasn't easy. And you got to keep in mind, from a family perspective, my 2 kids were the only grandchildren that my parents knew. So, and this was like when Skype was still a thing. If you guys, I mean, this wasn't like, we didn't have iMessage going on and all that stuff. Like, this was back in the day, you know, which doesn't even seem that long ago, but they were hurt. They were devastated. So you're carrying all of that too. And, you know, I'm very close to my parents, my family. Didn't want to bring any pain or hurt. I know they've been mad proud of us, but I know that was a sacrifice for everybody. So it sounds glamorous. It's a different trip, man. It's just a different trip.
So one of my early takeaways from this episode is, I think you have to be very careful as far as who you're sharing the vision with, right? And I think if you're
And
sharing
when.
it with the right people, right, like your wife,
Yeah.
like your pastor, but you share it with somebody like, what? You going to South Africa?
Yeah.
Like I'd have to imagine if I came to Ted and said, hey, I feel led to have my own IT company. He's gonna be like, yes, that you can do this, as opposed to somebody who's never had a business. So talk about that, the importance of really being careful of kind of who you communicate the vision to.
You're always going to have these like naysayers. They're always there, and I actually would really encourage to just know who they are and listen to them often. Actually, I mean, that sounds counterintuitive and like, oh, they're going to just snuff out your passion. It's like, no, they give you insight into the blind spots you don't see. Now, I don't agree with almost any of the things my naysayers have said. And they never go away. They only get louder. Like, that's what my experience has been. The older I get, the louder they seem to be getting, and my hearing's going bad, so I don't know what's going on. But I just think you got to be careful how much you lean on the counsel of the naysayer. And I think that's important, but also you're right. I mean, I think timing of everything, sharing too much, oversharing with folks, you got to build that vision step by step, brick by brick. And you need some people that are going to be like, this is going to be hard, but I'm going to throw this out there with you. We're going to get it done. I think that's the other piece for me, Eric, was I never did anything by myself to date, and it's not just, oh, my wife's always with me. Yeah, that's true. She's always been a big part of everything, but we always had teammates that we could lean on as well. We're very limited in our capabilities, and other people bring way better skills to certain areas. And so without them, none of it would have happened. So I just think you got to know how to bring the team together, know how to delegate the roles right, and just inspire, movement forward.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like God is going to give you a vision that you can just do yourself. A lot of times it involves the need to partner with somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To make it happen.
Yeah.
So good. We're talking about how to convert your vision into a sustainable venture. Those of you that have just joined us, you've already missed some takeaways. You got to hit the rewind button and see what you missed. But so tell us, Joe, about your entryway experience into fundraising.
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to it earlier. It was going to our senior pastor and telling him, I think we're on our way. Like we really feel called. I think in about 8 to 12 months, we'll be on the plane. We'll have raised all the funds we need and we'll be ready to go. And he said, yeah, but you got 3 months. So, because we're not going to keep carrying you. And that really hit us upside the head. I mean, my wife had just given birth to our second kid. We had a house to put on the market in a market that wasn't moving fast. We were kind of in more of a blue collar town. That's where a lot of our network was. We had to raise a lot of money. And so we were nervous, but I think we just started putting a plan together. We started talking with a lot of our closest friends and family just about where things were, what was the long-term need, what's the immediate need. And we just staged it all out, and I think that's the biggest key takeaway for us, hindsight, was it's an elephant, man. You're trying to eat this whole elephant in a day because you're freaking out. Like, I got 3 months. I got to figure it out. And there was definitely that first week and a half, we're banging our heads against the wall. We're stressed, man. But I think when we finally calmed down, we were able to get our heads around it. We were able to just, okay, what's the next bite we got to take out of this thing? And then we'll get the whole thing swallowed up, but we got to just go one ear at a time, And, and I'll be honest, we didn't have everything we needed when we got on that plane. We had enough to get by for a couple of months. And then from there, we had a return ticket though. That was all we had. Was like, this is our out. This is our exit. If we have to leave, we can get back to friends and family and crash on a couch with babies. But, did not want to do that. That was motivation. I didn't want to do that. So, yeah.
So it kind of reminds me, Ted, of something you always talk about, that you get put in situations sometimes where you're locked in a room and it's like you just have to figure it out. So Ted, why don't you talk about that? And that's something you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a saying that I always have, Joe, about situations, is you got to look at it like you're locked in a room and you got to get out. right? And then you'll look at the some of the simple solutions you have first, right? Like it's funny when I go through that conversation with various employees or friends, and I share that, and I'm like, okay, what would you do first? Right. So someone's like, oh, I'll go to the door, I'll try to pick the lock. Or I had an employee recently say, oh, I'll just take a chair and throw it out the window, a cracked one. I said, no, like that can be on the list, but that's not like the first thing. Like maybe you could maybe the door is not even locked, and you can pick the lock, or maybe you can call somebody or something, or text somebody. I didn't say you had to take the nuclear approach first and just go bust through the window and dive out, but you walk through those different processes and scenarios, and then determine which way. But just sitting in there forever is not an option, right? So you're gonna have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So you launched this company, SolveLine, and tell us about that, and then tell us about how this venture ultimately aligns with your vision.
Yeah, let me back up before we get into SolveLine, because it kind of birthed out of our nonprofit. So
Okay.
my vision early on, so we formed up Exponent Group about 7 years ago now, and the heart behind it was we really wanted to help local leaders restore their own communities in a number of different ways, like you had alluded to in the introduction there. We really are concerned about the spiritual health of people. Like that's our foundation. If you're not right there, then like we're building with faulty Legos, if you will. It's going to break. And then from there, you need other skills development. So what are the skills you need to sustain healthy practice and ministry and all this? But when I was serving overseas, some of the best ministry leaders that I knew, like I wanted them full time on my salary. I wanted them on my staff. They were unbelievable. The problem was there's not I think fundraising has always got to be an element to missions. I think that there's a lot to that theologically. I really believe people should give, to that kind of work because it's good for their soul. It's not just about funding missions. It's about participating. The challenge we kept running into though was the market for fundraising for our leaders in Africa was really thin. And so to get them fully funded and available for the work has been just a consistent challenge for us. So I'll come back to the States and I'll raise extra money for them. And we'll, that's kind of what we've been doing for a long time. And that's really where things started to burn. So I've been walking with my friends in Nigeria for about 15 years now. I've been walking with the CEO of SolveLine, actually. I'm not even the CEO. I've been the advisor that's helping it get off the ground. And we've been housing it inside of our nonprofit. We're partners that way. But it came out of, we were kind of swapping stories around how do we evangelize folks in our community? And now we've got these guys in here. And these are people in Nigeria, they're coming out of things like, drug trafficking, sex trafficking. They're thieves. They use crazy lifestyles, right? And the hardwiring in the brain takes a minute to untangle when you come into faith. And so we just kept wrestling with, we got to give them an alternative way of doing life, because that's what their livelihood was dependent on, that stuff. This is not good. Just that's what it was. And so we started about 4 years ago, walked with them in creating a job training program. Like, how do we give them soft skills? How do we get them back into something more productive for community and all that kind of stuff, businesses and things like that? And what we found in there early was there's a lot of really amazing work ethic here. Like people want different. They're not wanting to stay in a life of crime. They want to work hard, and they are working hard. And even a couple of them, we ended up having to create a whole entrepreneurship cohort, because a couple of them were like, I could start this business. And they had all these great plans. We're like, oh, let's help them organize this and kick it off. And early on, we helped start 3 businesses over in Nigeria. It was just amazing. But when Ishaku, the CEO, and I began talking about 18 months ago, we're wrestling and praying together, because we were funding that work, all that job training stuff. We were funding it from donations, fundraising that I was doing for them and all that. And I'm like, this is getting so big, and we have an opportunity to take it further. Different communities, different countries in Africa, the whole thing. It's all right there in front of us. And the problem though was like fundraising doesn't keep up with growth. And that's been a consistent theme for our ministry. It's like we're outstretching, our impact is outstretching our ability to shore up the infrastructural needs we have. And so we've got to come up with some alternatives here, especially over there in Africa. I want this to be something that, they can rely on. It's a little bit more steady. It's like make a better sale, have a better product, have a better service. Like that's easier to handle than a fundraising relationship that can take years to cultivate. And so we helped them kick this off about, I'll step back. About 18 months ago, he said, I think we can do this. He said, I don't know, man. Like, let me hire the first one. The first virtual said, I'll hire the first one and let's see how it goes. So I did. I stepped in. And I'm still with that guy. He's amazing. He's one of the best hires I've ever had. But early on, we're like, man, okay, there are all these problems. Like the internet connection is broken. The electric grid is constantly going down. We gotta solve these problems before we can open it up to the market. And every month I was paying Victor, who's my guy, still my guy, and we call him our director of operations now. He's brilliant, unbelievably brilliant. And we were paying his salary, plus we increased our price that we paid to them. So Exponent Group was paying Solveline to do all this. And I actually paid a bonus so we could get them on Starlink internet, electric, solar electric. And we started buying up like the batteries and the storage stuff. So one thing after another, we just kind of stacked all of the things that needed to be present. We just started stacking it month over month, solving problems for me and our organization and building up the infrastructure so they could start supporting other groups. And about 4 or 5 months ago, we turned on the dial. We said, let's go to market. Well, I think we've got something here. So we've been picking up a few clients here and there. And what it's allowing us to do, guys, is some of the graduates from that program are now on the team. And they're sitting there working together. They're taking in client task lists, they're project managing together, they're executing all this amazing work. And it's quality, it's efficient, it's quick. But the better thing for us too with it, we started to identify it was, this is where leadership development is happening. It's like one thing to give them job skills training, but now we're training them like how to lead. So all of these guys that are currently hired, we hired them because they're going to be the team leaders as we grow. And so, we're kind of building up the infrastructure as we go, building the bench as we fly the plane kind of situation. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's early. We're really early, but we're really excited about the connection for it. So the profits pour back into the program and we're able to hire more people, create better jobs. Last thing I'll say though, Eric, on this one, this is what gets me real excited. Everybody there owns the company. They own, we spun it out of the nonprofit. It is their own company. They own it. And we're able to pay our guys in the top 5% of their community, top earners across industries. And to me, it's just like, wow, that's checking all the boxes off for me. Now it's a slow growth, right? I mean, we're only about 4 months to market. But the fact that we're already here where we are, I'm really pleased with it. And I think if we grow it correctly, we're going to be able to give a lot more people, not only more ownership, but better pay just across the board and change the economy over there. So I'm excited about all of that.
Yeah, sounds like a win for everybody involved. So what is your fundraising philosophy? I mean, it seems, that's obviously the key. I mean, you've got to be able to generate the revenue. Can you share with us you must have it must be successful.
Well, yeah, it just depends on how we define it. It's ebbs and flows, right? I have never thought of fundraising as, hey, can you give me money to go do this work over here? I don't think that's good practice inside of entrepreneurship, missions, anything. What we're doing is we're inviting people to partner. Like, you are actually going to partner with us in this impact. Now, in like a venture like Solveline, to date, we haven't taken any investment capital. It's only been donation based. But the guys were open to taking an investor. And I was like, why don't you slow down a little bit? Because if we can bootstrap this thing, it's better off because you guys can just like let it grow. But if we can align ourselves with partners who recognize that the part that they play is mission critical, then it doesn't necessarily open up all of the purse strings, but it's the right posture. Like, that's because it's true. you are enabling this impact to happen. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do these things. And so that to me was the biggest key. And then also just recognizing like some people are going to have seasons where they can give, one big chunk, and other times they can just carry, a $20 a month kind of donation. It all matters, and everybody's an equal player in this, and they all have skin in the game with us. So that's really more the pitch, is like partner with us. So that's been our success rate for that.
Do you think that's something? So if somebody's watching us now or listening to us now, they're thinking of starting a nonprofit, and they want to get better at, if you had to give them advice on fundraising, that would be your advice, to form partnerships?
Yeah, I think so. But I think before you even get to the partnership conversation, you got to get really laser focused on the vision and like what is the long-term output and the long-term outcomes we want to see. In 5 years, we want this to be true in these communities. And now let's paint the story of how we're going to get there. So I think if you can really craft that story, and I'll be honest, because I paint a big vision picture. Like I remember early on when we started Exponent Group, I'm like, I can see us building businesses with our African partners where they're self-generating enough revenue to fund their entire ministry and grow a successful business at the same time. I will go back to my call notes of how many people said that's insane, that will never work. Like, and here we are. It's not me. It was my partner. As I trusted my friends in Nigeria, I'm like, these guys will make this happen. This is going to happen. And here we are. Right. And so that, to me, it's really about painting that picture and giving realistic steps for how we're going to get there. That's the invitation. And you do that with a pitch deck. I mean, I know, Ted, you've probably been pitched a million times with companies coming to you, and it's like, yeah, your go-to-market plan makes 0 sense. So nah, I'm out, and so you just have to do the same thing in missions. It's the same in nonprofit world.
So if I'm hearing you, so if somebody they've got this vision, they want to convert it to a sustainable venture. So you're saying that they need to really have the vision clear and the steps mapped out. Am I hearing that correctly?
I think you really have to, and then put dollar signs to each step. Mm-hmm. And the tighter you get on that, the easier it is to talk to potential partners. It's like, yeah, if you could give us I remember when we were first starting with Solveline, I said, long term, this is where we're going to go, because we've got communities in Rwanda, South Africa, other places we want to get to. But right now, we have to get infrastructure in Nigeria, where our starting point is. We got to get all the internet and legal and everything else built and prove out our processes. That's going to take us 18 months. And to get that all done, I need about $10,000 just to get this off the ground. Because from there, we're going to start getting contracts and let revenue build this plane while we go. And I was able to secure about $7,500 of that $10,000 raise. And that's what got us off the ground. It was all philanthropic donations that came through Exponent Group, and Exponent Group granted it over to our missions partners in Africa, and they built it. And we're obviously sitting in the back corner advising and helping where we can, but yeah, I mean, we're on track to, in the next 5 years, be in a couple of different communities. But today's step one, you know what I mean?
For sure. Okay. So I mean, you're starting to touch on this, but what do you see for yourself on the horizon, and where is this thing headed?
Yeah, I mean, I think Solveline is moving in a really healthy direction. We really are focusing in right now on Africa predominantly. That's going to be our priority. We want to really help communities grow up. I think for Exponent Group, from a missions perspective, we're continuing to expand globally right now. And so my priority as the executive director of the organization has been, we've got to think about like what we did for Solveline and my friend Deshaku and his mission. We need to figure out how to do for us. Like, we've got to figure out other streams of revenue, because, our budget keeps going up, multiple thousands of dollars every year because we were expanding so much, and fundraising is not keeping up with that. And so we want to continue to shore up our fundraising while we continue to expand. So I'm in the process right now of exploring some things with our board and some of our other partners, like what are realistic mission aligned things that would fall in line with our core calling. And because what I don't want to do, guys, is I don't want to get into like, hey, let's go buy up some gas stations and some subways, because that'll make us a lot of money, sure, that's like completely out of left field and not mission aligned at all. And so I'm just not interested in wasting time on that stuff. But so we have a couple of projects in the pipeline right now. And, again, it's like our partners are the ones doing it with us. So I don't even have to put my hands on anything that we're building other than to give direction, vision, and resource. And then empower our team to just keep building. So I think for Exponent Group, it's continued to expand our ministry while building out some revenue development lines for our sustainability. Because I think if we can stay in a healthy position long term, we can help more groups like our friends in Nigeria, and that's our priority. I bet by the time I retire, I'd like to have done that on multiple continents with multiple communities. So we need that. But we have to have that infrastructure inside our house. So we're building that rocket ship right now.
So Joe, again, for our listener that may have just joined, like you go into these areas, and when you go into these areas, your plan is to kind of take them from this as is to this to be state. I mean, can you tell us about like the as is? You go in, this is kind of what it is.
Yep.
And then the plan, whether it's 5 years from now, whatever, to be, and then kind of walk us through that a bit.
Yeah. So when we first moved let's take Boston, for example. I moved here, it's been about 13 years ago now, I would say. And when we first got here, we didn't know anybody at all. So we spent the first few months just kind of mapping out like who's who, what's what are the gaps here? What are the unacceptable realities of this city, of this region? What's going on here? I mean, I'd heard stories, but I didn't understand it. And as we were mapping that and we began to listen to the local leadership that was already present, we began to identify like what their hearts were and really what more there could be with them. And we began to work with just a small pocket of leaders. It was never like, let's reach the whole city. I mean, that's always the goal, right? Like you want to see that happen, but it was choosing the few and really hearing out their heart and helping them craft a plan. What does spiritual vibrancy look like over the next 5 years? Where are we today, and what does that look like? We want to stretch you further. Same thing with what needs to be fixed in our community. Let's not just come in with another franchise of like, here's another reading program for your 3rd grade community. It's like, maybe that'll work, but like, what if they don't speak English, which is a lot of our community, and they're only English curriculum? Like that doesn't work, Sure. So what are all of the spiritual dynamics, the skills dynamics? What are the skills that people are going to need to grow in? And then what is the ultimate, this is our hardest one. What is our long-term community development plan here? What do we want to see be true here long-term? And so as we begin to map all that out, we can start putting sort of a scope of work together in some ways. Like we'll start training cohorts around our spiritual formation, around our ministry skills equipping. We'll put in infrastructure around that. We'll help you as churches in the community figure out how to like hold that. And then we'll continue to resource and support you and guide that process. And then in the community development arm, it's, we're not coming in with a template and saying like, hey, all the successful community development people are doing this, do this. It's like, no, in this situation, what are the right next things to do? So that's what we did at Solveline. It was, how do you, in Nigeria, what are the spiritual gaps? How do we begin to shore that up? They reached so many people with the gospel, and we started seeing like this flood of awesome ministry. And now we have another problem. How do you feed them? Like, it's kind of that moment. And how do you get their mindsets reset away from a life of crime and into something different? We had to build out that community development plan. That took us 4 years to get to where we are. You got to keep, that was a lot of trial and error, a lot of blow ups in your face as you get going, right? Like you're dealing with a lot of gnarly stuff, but we kept our plan. We kept our feet to that plan. We pivoted a lot. Like we kept having to like readjust course but the vision always stayed the same. We want to see people own their own companies, make a livable wage, and restore their communities here, spiritually, physically, emotionally, everything. So whatever it's going to take to get there, and we just stayed the course, Ted. And then we do that, and it's every community's different. So we got to have a unique contextual plan everywhere we go.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that for the folks that may have joined us. Ted, that's a great question.
Well,
so
because remember, I joined us late, so I had to, so I was like, let me help out those that came in late, like myself. Understanding it. Thank you.
Listen, I'm asking this question for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend.
My friend would like to know.
Right, as is and to be. Right. No, that's great.
This is good, Joe. Definitely, I commend you on what you're doing, and just the fact that you're making a difference. It would have been easy. I mean, with your skills and your abilities, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could have applied that. But you chose to listen to the call, answer the call, and really follow the vision. And certainly that's just commendable. And we're going right now, Joe. This is actually Ted's favorite part of the show. It's called Write This Down.
It's not.
He just loves this part, Joe.
I do not like this, Joe.
See, can't you tell?
Aren't you the producer, man? Cut it.
Right. But it's two of us, right? So
yeah, they're fair.
We get stuck. We get stuck.
Yeah, there you go. So this is where we each go around and just share at least one idea that was mentioned during today's episode that we want the people to write down so they can level up. So, Joe, you're our guest of honor. What do you want people to write down from today's show?
Ooh, well, it's probably something I haven't said yet. And it's a shameless plug for SolveLine, guys. I'll tell you, man, to get to the next level, I had to learn how to delegate better. So if I was going to, I love, if you guys ever read that book, Traction.
Yes.
They have this,
Wickman.
Yes, man. Amazing quote in there. It's like, if you want to elevate, you got to delegate. If you want to elevate, you got to delegate. And if you have a good person to delegate to, AKA, hey, solveline.pro, go check them out. But I'll tell you, that was the game changer for me.
If you want to elevate, you have to delegate. I don't know, Ted, that sounds like a twiggable quote. Write that one down.
Very twiggable. Very twiggable.
Yeah, you want to elevate, you got to delegate. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Go ahead, Ted.
For me, I think what kind of stood out the most is the whole thing around, the vision and getting people or having those that supported your vision and knowing that everyone wasn't going to support it, but you had those people in your circle. But, most importantly, it's your vision, right? It's your vision. It doesn't mean everyone is gonna, buy into it. I thought it was great how you said you were open to hearing those naysayers as well, right? Because they give you a different perspective, right? The blind spots, and oftentimes, we don't, as a visionary, we don't necessarily want to hear the naysayer.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna kill it in the first year, and this is what's gonna happen. And then you got the naysayer that brings up this other. No, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. But from what you're saying is, taking that something that's negative from a naysayer and making it something positive. Just saying, hey, they think, or they may have identified some holes that you did not pay any attention to, that you could, definitely look out for those things. And so I thought that was really important. First, again, this vision is your vision, right? God's giving you the vision, so everybody's not going to be bought into it. But then, two, there'll be some that'll be bought into it. Like you said, your wife and some others that are close to you. And then, lastly, know that there's going to be some naysayers, and that's not all bad that they're there, unless you let it be bad, right? Unless you let it discourage you or whatever. So, but yeah, I thought those were some very key points that I took from this discussion.
Write that down. All right. So my contribution to this segment really has to do with how you dealt with adversity. Because a lot of times we think if you're called to something, it's just going to be smooth sailing, right? Say, hey, I want you to go ahead and lead this mission, and oh, great, yep, it's just you right off to the sunset, right? Live happily ever after. But then you had the surprise where the church basically told you, okay, you've got 3 months to fund your
Right.
entire salary, and you had to figure it out. You had to, but I think adversity is necessary for where you're trying to go, especially if you're trying to get to a destination that you've been called to. You can expect that you're going to run into adversity. Matter of fact, if you don't run into adversity, I would question if that was a divine calling.
Oh, come
Mm.
on. There you go. Write that down. There you go.
I would question
Mm.
it. If you just tell me, yeah, God told me to open up this store, and man, it just exceeded it went faster
Everything
than I
but
thought, and I always had money, and every person I hired
everything
worked
worked.
out.
Everything worked. Everything worked. Every hire was great. Every move was great. Yeah, it's too easy. This is amazing.
That's not, there's nothing on that. Yeah.
That's no fun, Joe. If everything goes.
No, it's not.
No, no. I mean, we've done what 400 something episodes. I've never heard a story like that from someone
No,
from
no.
someone who's really successful. So I mean
That's right.
that's just confirmation that
Yeah.
God told you to do it if you experience some adversity.
Yeah.
So and again, Joe, I commend you on getting through it and getting
Thanks,
on the
brother.
other side. And
I
I
don't know
think
if I've made it yet, but I'll take it.
That's
good
right.
stuff. This world's a better place because of it. So
I appreciate it.
what's the best way that people can connect with you and get more
Yeah, I would
information?
say, my primary housing is in Exponent Group. So if you wanted to email me or check out our website, exponentgroup.org. My email is just joe@exponentgroup.org. That's the best way to get us. And I would say if you're interested in the Solveline story, you want to connect with those guys, go check out their website, solveline.pro. And I'm really proud of this team. They're remarkable, remarkable leaders. So yeah, those would be the best ways to get me.
Great. Again, thank you to Joe Reed for sharing everything that you shared. And speaking of sharing, those of you watching and listening, don't forget to share the show. All right.
Good show.
Now that Ted is off of mute, he can say share
Right.
the show as well.
Right.
All
Right.
right.
I was like, wait a second. I need to take it over mute. Share the show. Share the show.
That's right. Share the show. Don't keep this great information a
Absolutely.
secret. Don't keep it all to yourself. And don't forget, you can actually go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those podcasting platforms and access the 30-minute hour podcast. Make sure that you hit the follow or subscribe button. That way you never miss a future episode. That's our time for this week's show. And until next time, have a great one. And remember, don't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress. Take care.